great, and then I'll pick up.
Fantastic. Hello, everyone. My name is Felicia Parks, and I am the School of Communications Advisor in the Main Career Center. I have a background in a lot of different areas, but one of them was as being a recruiter, hiring people in the fields of public relations and also accounting and a few other fields. So I also have an undergrad degree in both public relations and journalism, and was involved a lot with event planning and now career advising. And a lot of that has been successful in making those transitions due to networking. So I'll turn it back over to my colleague, Wanda.
Thank you. Now I know why Felicia and I get along so well. We were both recruiters. I spent most of my career at Verizon and had my time at being, as being a recruiter as well. But currently I'm in the Co-Guide Office of Career Engagement. I love career advising. I received my MBA from AU many moons ago. And so I love business. I love working with the students in Co-Guide. And I'm a firm believer in networking. So I'm very excited to be here with you all today. So thank you. Okay, it's not working for me, Felicia. Yeah, can you advance it? Thank you. So today we're going to talk about the steps to building these professional relationships. The 5 steps we have on the screen. I want to, talk about each one. Networking is important. I think that a misconception a lot of students have is you only network at networking events, but you should be networking even as a college student, as an undergrad or master's students. Network with your friends and other people that you meet in different organizations and different settings. And I'm proud to say that every job I have ever had, I got through my network. I don't know if that works for me when I apply for a job, just blindly, that does not work for me. So I'm a big believer in networking, and it is important to not just helping someone get a job, but it's also helpful to find mentors, to understand what's going on in the industry, and what's going on in the world of work. So networking is a very valuable skill that everyone should have, not just those in school, but even as you have your full-time job and you're out in the work world. So today we're also going to talk about the various tools that you can use to build rapport with different professionals. You will meet people, professionals, they come on campus or they have panel discussions with students. You also may meet them at conferences. You just never know where you may meet people. So we want you to be prepared for those opportunities, because again, networking is a very valuable tool. We're also going to talk about networking strategies, because it's one thing to meet someone and make a connection, but there's another thing to maintain that professional contact. Just as you have friendships, you don't just meet somebody and say, oh, they're my friend. You have to maintain that relationship. So we're going to talk about those strategies for developing and maintaining your network so that's strong and valuable. We're also going to discuss commonly used web conferencing software that you may get to use, using or attending workshops, or even as some conferences are still online. But there are also opportunities for you to not just enhance your learning, but to also make contacts even virtually. And then finally, which is a good step that I think a lot of people forget, is this action plan. You need to plan out your networking opportunities and set some deadlines up for yourself. So we're going to talk about all those things today. So it still doesn't work. I can't advance. Okay, thank you. So why is networking important? I shared my success with networking, and basically the research shows that about 7 out of 10 jobs are found through professional contacts. So that statement alone should make you feel like I want to make sure I'm good at networking. Networking, again, those professional contacts, people know other people. You may make a contact with somebody in one company, and you may not be interested in that particular company, but that person could probably introduce you to someone in another company. So those professional contacts are very valuable, very important. And who knows, a contact you may make may help a friend of yours get, have that professional contact. They may end up providing them with a job opportunity. So professional contacts are very important. You continue to build them throughout your career. So again, these relationships is for career advice, job related information, but also I think good professional contacts can also help you grow in a position that you have.
Mhm.
You can get feedback. You can meet people who can give you advice that maybe you don't get in the classroom, about how to sustain yourself to create that great image in your industry. So professional contacts are extremely important. Give me the next one. Thanks. Okay. So step 2, the various tools that you will use to build rapport with professionals. We know that since 2020, our world changed and we really had to adapt. But I think people are doing pretty well with the virtual world now. And hopefully we can get back to more in-person things. I was a little disappointed that we went back to wearing masks again because I thought the outside was opening up a little bit more at AU because I noticed the energy on campus. Even yesterday, walking around, I noticed that energy. So there are tools that may be virtual that you still may have to use for a while, and that's okay. You can still build those relationships. So let's talk about a couple of them. Next, yeah. Okay, so one thing you want to think about is you have opportunities to meet professionals in employer panels, virtual career fairs. We had our first in-person career fair recently, which I heard was a huge success. I didn't get to
Yeah.
attend it. But when you think about establishing these professional contacts, there's sort of like 3 basic steps you want to keep in mind. You want to initiate that virtual conversation, or the conversation, whether it's in person or virtual. And what you want to keep in mind is how do you make that great impact, initially? What is a phrase you would do? You wouldn't walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a job." One thing I always tell students when they meet someone that's coming on campus is you want to thank that professional, that recruiter, or that company representative for coming to American University. Show your appreciation. I'm big on manners. So you want to welcome people and invite them into a conversation. You also try to learn about what they want. If they're on campus, if they're engaging with AU students, you want to find out what they're looking for. Maybe you're school of communication, and maybe this person is looking for accounting. Okay, so maybe they're not looking for you, but maybe you have a friend that's looking for a job in accounting. So find out why they're here, make them feel welcome. And I'm not saying you have to talk to them forever and a day, but if you look at step 2, you ask questions. Find out what they're looking for. Find out something about them. They may be an alumni. They may have had great success with working with American University students. So you want to really ask questions and listen to what they're saying more than talking about yourself. Find a common point of interest. If they say, "Well, I'm an alum," get excited about that. Show that you appreciate that commonality that you have. Or maybe they're from, I don't know, New Jersey like you are. Look for common points of interest. And don't try so hard to impress as much as making a conversation feel comfortable and natural. That's what I would say. So don't work so hard to say, "I want them to know that I'm great and I'm fantastic." Have a conversation. Because remember, recruiters, employers, they're human beings just like we are. And then an important step that I think a lot of people forget is following up. Back in the day when everybody was passing out business cards, I would get a business card and I would write on the back something about that person. It may be, blue tie from New Jersey, something that would make me remember that person, maybe even something that they said. So I could reach back out and say, "Hey, John Doe, I really appreciated speaking with you about your company and what you're looking for. I think it's great that we're both from South Plainfield, New Jersey. How rare is that?" Make that person remember you. Um, you could request a second meeting, or you could say, "I know you were looking for accounting students, and I'm in the School of Communications, but I'm wondering if you know anybody that works for, I don't know, the TV station, or whatever you might be looking for." You never know who knows someone, but reconnect. Try to connect with them on LinkedIn. There may be some people that they know, you never know. So you've got to follow up. And then always send a thank you email because you want to thank them for their time. That's real important. Again, I'm big on manners, and as a recruiter, there were the students that had the most manners were the ones that I always remember. I would pick up on energy. I picked up on people being grateful for the consideration. So remember, recruiters are human beings just like you are. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so you probably heard the term elevator pitch. And this is a term that came out of what would you do if you were in an elevator with a recruiter? You want to think about what you would say if you have, say, 30 seconds. So you might want to really take time, after this workshop to really think about your competitive edge. So again, I work in a school of business. I love business. I always talk about business. Your competitive edge could be that you're a leader in a student organization, or you've had a great internship with a large company in the past. It could be that you play sports. I used to like to recruit people that play sports because I knew they were great team players. So what is your competitive advantage or your competitive edge when you think about the other candidates you may be considering? Think about your skills. So if you're talking to an employer, let's say the Wall Street Journal, I'm just throwing this out here, they probably have some jobs on Handshake. Take a look at the job descriptions, look at the skills they're looking for. Maybe they want someone with, experience being an editor in a school newspaper. I don't know. Whatever the skills are, think about what skills you would bring to that employer, what skills you have, the strengths, and also some goals. I think this is just Wanda, a misconception some students have, in my opinion, is they think about what they want to learn from an internship, and that's great, but that's not what the employer wants to know. The employer wants to know, what do you bring to the table? So you really have to think about what you have. I'm this great student. I've done well. I am a great team player in these group projects. I'm a leader. I was elected president in the student club. Let them know that you could come in there and just make such an impact. Again, that common point of interest is important, and show that you're passionate about what you've chosen to do. That you bring good skills and competencies to a position that you occupy. Think about who you are in 4 or 5 sentences. What do you do? What do you bring? Your competencies, your experiences, so really think about that and ask some really good questions that maybe you couldn't find the answers to on their website. So again, I'm gonna go back to recruiters are human beings. Ask them why they're at their company. What keeps them there? People love talking about themselves. I know I do. So, ask them some good questions. Don't ask them, well, what does your company do? You can find that on the website. Ask them something about themselves and their relationship to the company. What are you looking for? What do you think your company needs? But also be interested, be very curious about why that individual is still at that company. They may give you some great insight, but the other thing is you have to listen to what they say. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense.
It did. All right. Thanks, Wanda. We've touched on multiple tools and how to build rapport. So we're going to start chatting a little bit about strategies. Like, how can you assess your current network? And yes, you have one. You may be thinking, there's no one I know, and you do. And then we'll go into how we use social media as part of our networking opportunities. We can scour LinkedIn for alumni and other contexts. And we can become familiar, if you're unaware, with a tool called Alumni Fire. I love to call Alumni Fire. Facebook and LinkedIn had a baby. And so it has a lot of great tools where people raise their hand. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So think about your current network, right? So I want to tell you a little bit of a story. Some of you may be thinking, okay, Felicia, I have a major in finance. No one in my family works in finance. I'm only a sophomore. And most of the people in my networking circle are friends that I know from the comedy club, because I do improvisation. And these talents I use to help relax myself after a taxing day of accounting classes. Shockingly enough, those friends, family members, fellow students, which you may call also your colleagues, or their parents and the professors may be working for people in those financial organizations that you want to pursue in the future for an internship. And at some point, a full-time job, as scary as that is. So it just takes you a moment to start thinking about sharing your goals. Wanda touched on like what's in your elevator pitch. Part of your elevator pitch is also your goals. Asking, well, who do you know that could teach me more about financial accounting when I've had this one introductory class, but I'm great with leadership skills. Even your former supervisors, some of you may have had those same summer jobs we had at the pool, at summer camp, at an ice cream shop, selling items in a retail environment. Those people you met at a conference because you're involved with a student organization on campus, those could be people connecting you to your future employer or your future job. So think of, how do I create this spreadsheet, which Wanda will go into a little bit later, and I'll start writing down, like, who do I know? And which professors can I pop into their rooms and chat with them about who they know? So that first part of the circle is we talk about the weak ties, because we're still trying to figure out those common point of interest. And we're going to really drive home common points of interest today. If you don't learn anything else, how to connect with people. Did you share the same dorm with them on campus? Did you work with them in the same department? Maybe you have the same hobby, you join the same fraternity or sorority. We have a very active student organizations on AU's campus. Every time I walk across campus, there's somebody tabling. It could be 10 degrees outside and raining, and somebody's tabling. So start asking them, who do you know? So when you think about your weak ties, ask them for advice, insight, recommendations. So it's good to reconnect with them, and hopefully they want to help you with advice. Now think about your existing resources, that we have more in the dormant part of the circle, the second part of the circle. That could be your faculty, your staff, your family members, especially your parents that are asking you, what are you going to do for the summer? And are you going to leave DC so we don't have to pay that rent, over the summer? You're like, I have this great opportunity. And also when I was in class, I was overhearing conversations from friends that are going to be working for some of these companies, and maybe they'll consider me as a referral, right? So even though, a lot of people spent the past 2 years of the pandemic and they have to be back on campus, well, that 2 years, they probably made a lot of contacts online, joined a lot of different conferences and seminars. I know me, every single event I'm screenshotting because I want to get the names of the people that I saw at that conference. And then I reach out to them later. I reach out to them to come and recruit amazing students like you all that's on the call, but you want to reach out to them for other reasons and see, who do they know? Can we have an informational interview? And then you have a lot of times the strong ties. The strong ties would be, again, maybe some of your previous supervisors. There are a lot of people that I've heard. I think it was called Cake Love. I'm not even sure if it's still open. So much with the pandemic, I don't know what's open anymore. But the owner of Cake Love, which has amazing cupcakes, a little pricey, formerly was a lawyer. So what if you walked in and got that amazing strawberry banana cupcake with all the swirls on top, and you started chatting with them about how you want to go to law school and what type of law you want to practice, and then they suddenly connect you with other people. So you just never know. You got to kind of put yourself out there and be a little bit more comfortable in chatting about what you're looking for. I want to talk about social media, right? So a lot of times, we think about social media. I know when I speak with students that come into school communication, because a lot of times they're connecting with employers that way, you could be a totally different major, and that's totally fine. But a lot of times when I look at social media, I'm looking at people describing, oh, the concert they went to last night, or they're sharing a picture of their favorite Postmates delivery and making me hungry at lunchtime. But social media is also a great tool because it's a chance to connect with decision makers. There's so many recruiters, employers that are online. Even some of my former employers that I worked for, the hiring managers, they're connected with you all, and you don't even have to DM. They're just showing you right on there, like, here's a job posting, submit my name, or contact me for more information. And also in Handshake, there's now a new tool as of this past fall. You click on certain employers and it'll say in there, I'll just say like Wanda's. Wanda Lucas is offering 15-minute sessions to chat. I'm like, how amazing is that? They literally have it on Handshake. So that'll make you go out there and look for it under jobs. Click the jobs you want and see if any of those employers are offering 15-minute sessions, right? So even though, there are a lot of people that are back on campus, there's still a lot of professionals working from home. The government, a lot of them are still working from home. So this is still optimum time to connect with them through LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and again, Alumni Fire. So we'll be sending you instructions and links on how to use these tools so that you can jump in. You also can reconnect with your advisor based on whatever school you're in and say, hey, can you walk me through, how do I find people on Alumni Fire? How do I find people within Handshake? All these amazing tools. But I'm now going to switch over to LinkedIn. All right. So think through, like, what are my 3 action steps? And I want you to think about this as we're going through our session today, right? Maybe you've used LinkedIn, maybe your professor made you create an account and then you kind of shied away from it and you're like, oh, I'll do that when I'm a junior or senior, I'll come back. But at the conclusion of this webinar, we want you to try to include these tips and these action steps because it's going to help you create your professional website for LinkedIn. right? So we'll give you a handout on LinkedIn, but your professional picture should not have your friend's arm around him when you're trying to crop it out. It shouldn't be some type of meme or things like that, because this is what they want to see as this person could work in my office. My background is also in journalism. So, it was like I had to include a picture and a reel. So they decided, did I meet the culture of where they wanted to hire people online? As a recruiter, I kind of didn't have to put my picture in there. I just showed up and started interviewing people. But you can put in things about yourself in your summary. That could be your elevator pitch in your summary. Instead of, I'm a student American. We're all students for life. We're learning things, but tell what you would want to put on a business card or your elevator pitch. Make it interesting. And think through your first degree connections. If you actually have AU, American University, on your LinkedIn profile, you don't even have to connect with people. You can reach out to over 120,000 alumni, faculty, and staff just through that first connection of having this school on your profile. And then you can use those common point of interest. You can join alumni groups. You can personalize an invitation. There's a way when you go to invite to connect with someone, it's a very generic, it feels like one of those blue mailers we all get, and it says, I'd like to speak with you. I can't tell you how many times I've kind of looked at that and go, do I know this person? Do I want to connect with them? So then they have access to all my contacts. I don't know. But then when people write me and say, hey, I met you at the journalism conference and we chatted about me coming to America, I'm like, oh my gosh, no recruiter has ever been rude to say, I don't remember you. So as long as you say something where you said, hey, I met you at this event, they're going to be ecstatic and reply, oh, that's great that we met. And so don't be afraid to let them know that you met them. So this is just a quick screenshot of looking at how we connect with alums. I'm just showing you how I went into with an alum and I typed in National Geographic, typed in Washington, D.C., over 1,300 alumni. Now I know Nat Geo is going back and forth between they brought by Fox and they purchased by somebody else. So, we won't worry about that, but just think through, like, how do we find alumni? You see all these details about where they work, where they live. Sometimes they may not live in the same city you want to work in, but still connect with them because you don't know if that person has a referral program. And as a recruiter, and Wanda can speak to this as well, if we had a referral, it didn't matter if it was your sister's neighbors next door postman, if they dropped the name on that form, then we reached out to you in some form or fashion, whether it was an email or phone call, or just come and connect with me when I'm on campus for the job and internship fair. So you can look at that. You also can look at their major and see if you all were in the same dorm, whatever they have on their website. So literally you just have to enter American University in the search box, type in alumni, and then you can put anything you want in there. So this is a great way to connect. One other thing that I'm a part of is LinkedIn groups. So again, I mentioned how my background is in both public relations and journalism as my major, but also recruiter and a lot of jobs in between. But I joined these LinkedIn groups because I can see what's happening in the industry. I can chat with people that just had a new job and congratulate them because I want to keep my name relevant. LinkedIn is secretly also an applicant tracking system. What that means is when employers aren't using some of these databases that are very expensive, they use LinkedIn to find people. When you're active, your profile shows up. If you've made a LinkedIn profile a year ago, you haven't made a comment on anybody's page, you haven't updated it, it puts you way down on like page 3,000 like you are in a Google search. So being active in the LinkedIn groups, connecting with people, even just congratulating someone will make your profile more active when they put in keywords that you may have had from course projects or volunteer experience, things like that. So make sure you request to join a group. They may ask you just a couple little things like, why do you want to join our group? And you can say in there what you want to do. I promised you that Handshake was also a great tool for connecting with people. The power of Handshake is amazing. When we first converted from another tool under this simplicity to Handshake, I was completely confused and overwhelmed, which is easy when you've been at AU so long. It's been amazing to be here so long, but you get new tools and you have to figure it out. One amazing tool within Handshake, literally when you log into Handshake, you go to your profile, you scroll down to the far left and you look, and it says, would you like to connect with students? You go, yes. But then when you get to that secret box, if you see over on the left, hopefully you can see it's a little too small, maybe, it'll say previous employers. So if I want to work for an accounting firm, I can name that accounting firm, and then it's going to show me which students work there. Now, they don't show your personal email address, your telephone number, even your home address, so don't worry, but you can message them and say, hey, how was your experience there? What should I be looking for an internship? Who should I connect? And if the conversation goes well, would you be willing to be my referral? When I worked for Deloitte, we literally had what was called a friendship dinner. I'd come to campus for a job and internship fair, any of our interns that were with us for the summer, I'd say bring a friend, because what happens, people who have similar backgrounds tend to hang out together. So they bring a friend who probably was a finance or accounting major. We fed them dinner, sometimes at McCormick or Smith or something really fancy. And then we had all kind of handouts and things about Deloitte. And the next thing you know, these people are applying and they're keeping their friends listed as a referral. So we constantly had a huge applicant pool whenever our business was growing. Now, there could be smaller companies that only hire by referrals. So that's why it's really important for that networking piece and think through how to connect with the people within Handshake. So that'd be important. And before I turn over to Wanda, many of these tools you all have probably used throughout the pandemic, right? There's so many web conferencing software that either existed or were birthed during the pandemic that our heads were spinning. So a lot of these webinars that I've attended when I'm looking for more information about industry, and again, I work with the communication students, I've used GoToMeeting or I've used BlueJeans, especially Adobe Connect, because they can usually let in like thousands of people, right? So if you aren't familiar with these tools, we know you know Zoom and quite a few other tools on Blackboard to collaborate. Go to LinkedIn Learning. So once you have your account set up in LinkedIn, you can go back to the library database, connect that way, because you have to make sure you don't want to pay that $49 a month. Nobody wants to pay that, especially since AU's already covered it for you. So you go into the portal, you go to the library database, you click L for LinkedIn, and you connect your account. And that way, the next time you go on LinkedIn, you have this nice little box in the corner that says LinkedIn Learning. These videos are amazing. It could be a 2-hour session on how to use Zoom, but it has it broken down in 5-minute increments, and it has a transcript. So for me, I copy and paste my instructions until I know how to do it into the bottom note part of my PowerPoint presentation. So this is something that really helpful for you all. And I'll turn it over to Wanda.
Thank you. That was really great, Felicia. I appreciate that. The step 5 of today is about the action plan. It's one thing to meet a lot of people, make these professional contacts, but you need to have an action plan. And Felicia did a great job of going all these tools and strategies that you could use. But we also want to encourage you to write things down so you can keep track of what's going on when it comes to your network. When did you meet a person? What was that common point of interest? When do you want to follow up with them? Like, you sent a first email in one day, you don't want to send another one the next day. So you need to plan it out, maybe follow up in 2 weeks. So it's really important to think about goal setting. What's the point of reaching out to this contact? It could be just thanking them for their time, but maybe you have a different goal in mind. But you need to come up with a plan. Also, when I think about, our career fairs, I'm always talking to students about having a plan before you go to a career fair. Don't just walk in there and see, 1,000 employers and wander from table to table. You need to have a plan. You need to have a target. Who you're going to hit, who you're going to talk to. So you need to strategize what's the best way to use your time, not waste an employer's time, and only talk to people where there's a level of interest for you. So, you use Excel in your classes, use Excel or some kind of spreadsheet software to keep track of the contacts. I mentioned earlier when I would meet somebody, I would write on the back of the business card, and I still have a lot of business cards, but I transfer them to a spreadsheet so I will remember, how I met them, what, the context of the meeting, last time I talked to them, so I know what's going on. It's real important because you just don't want to say, "Hi, Felicia, it was great meeting you." So if I receive that email, I'm like, well, who is this student? Why would I know them? What do they want me to do? Have a plan for how you're going to maintain your contacts. And there are times when you meet somebody and it really won't go anywhere, but you can still thank them for their time. Because my thing is, you never know. You never know. I remember somebody reached out to me after a year, and it ended up being an opportunity for a job. So you never know. And this person remembered something I said, which was funny. I was like, "You remember me?" And they're like, "How could I forget?" And it ended up being a job opportunity that I had for a number of years. So you never know. But so stay on top of your contacts and those deadlines of following up. And also, if they ask you for something like a resume, make sure you follow up with what they ask you for. There's nothing worse than a recruiter saying, "Oh, Felicia, it was really great meeting you. Please send me your resume," and then you don't send it. Come on then. So you got to work with them. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah. So here's this an example of a spreadsheet. You can make it work for you, but the contact's name, where they work. Again, this is really important. Where or how you met them, the last time you followed up, and those notes. Again, we're both from Plainfield, New Jersey, AU alum. We both have Bernese Mountain Dogs as pets, something like that. Whatever that connection is, you will never know what those small connections mean to someone. So keep track of your contacts and your follow-up. If you emailed, if there was a phone call, you got to keep track of it. Let's go to the next slide. So this is yours.
All right. Great ways to follow up. Thank you, Wanda. So this is just a short list of the resources that we'll email to everyone that registered for the event today and participated. So we'll give you links to our website so you can learn more about networking, online branding, right? So we talked about how to use social media, but how do we clean it up? You can talk about your favorite coffee, your favorite concert, maybe a little careful on the political side, but also with information interviewing. And then LinkedIn Learning, these are just a few of the different videos that are available. You can see a little bit in length. Remember, I mentioned that they're in 3 to 5 minute increments, so you don't have to watch the whole 57 minutes of how to rock your LinkedIn profile. And then we have a few videos of networking success stories. So I'm very involved, and so is Wanda, with these intensive trips, whether we're going to California, whether we're going to Tennessee, whether we're going to New York. We're connecting with employers and we're bringing students along who apply for it. There are a couple of success stories of people who participate in those intensives, which is about a career exploration, but they followed up with the employers and they have videos on how they then transferred that particular experience and it converted it to an internship or a job. So we'll also include those links to get you really motivated, right? Now, one other thing as far as we call it the golden rule of networking, you want to be a resource for others. Don't hog all the information. They can hire more than one person. They won't suddenly decide that your friend is better than you. So I want you to realize the power of networking is a two-way street. So even as a student, a recent graduate, or an experienced alum, you can be a resource to employers. You can share with them what you know about your language and your regional skills, right? I think it's amazing. I met so many people that come to AU and they know 3 or 4 languages, or they've traveled to some of the places on my wish list. You can talk about what you're learning in class. So don't be shy, be proactive, share with them. And then also, if you have things you can refer to them, like, oh, there's a student group on campus that I think you really should connect with. Or I have a classmate who has just as much experience as I have, and share that. So be a resource and share with others. And so as Wanda closes us out, we'll go over a few things.
So yeah, so I just want to add to that. I'm a firm believer in when you give, your hand is open to receive. So, that recruiter, that employer may not be looking for your major, but if you say, but I can put you in touch with somebody that you might be interested in, believe me, it'll come back and benefit you. It really does. So we want to thank you so much for attending our workshop. We had a really great time. I love working with Felicia. And we just want to open up a chat, because I'm not sure if they can speak, to any questions you may have for us. We're more than happy to ask them.
If you want to speak, you can raise your hand and we'll definitely do that. If you want to put it in the Q&A or chat, I'll go back and forth in both tools. But we know you all have lots of questions, so definitely please ask those questions.
Yeah, we are here for you.
People may be typing. Let me check both boxes. Okay, no questions in the Q&A yet.
Okay, so here's my challenge then. If nobody has a question, I want you to put in the chat, if you have a contact at a certain company, say, I know someone at Coca-Cola. If you have that, we want to get you in the habit of sharing resources. So if you have any contact, just throw it out there. All right, I'm a new graduate student in SBA Referral Channel. These sessions have been thank you very much, Shelby.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yes. Anybody, who do you know? Think about it. Friends, families, I always talk about neighbors at home. Who do you all know? Put it in the chat. I just want to get you all in the habit of sharing what you know. It's a quiet group.
They're planning their strategies.
Is that what it is?
And their elevator pitches. I love that. So one of the things as you all think about networking, how many of you all feel as though, and you can just raise your hands or you can comment, how many of you all feel like I'm too much of an introvert to reach out to people? I'm uncomfortable with chatting with them about what their experience has been. Haven't seen any hands yet. I know some
Okay,
people, oh, I got a couple hands.
Yeah.
Couple hands. In our guide on information interviewing, we talk about how to do networking when you're an introvert. So thank you for raising your hands. Thank you for being so bold. One of the things people find funny, and I think Wanda and I talked about this a few years ago, I'm actually an introvert, and people find that they're like, no way. So I know how to turn it on, based on my background in so many different fields, but definitely an introvert, kind of surveying the room before I chat and planning my conversation, sometimes having a wingman, like, oh yeah, I don't want to take up too much of their time. Oh, I'm going to go over here and connect with this other employer. So,
and I'm
so
an extrovert all the way. So I just jump right in there. So, but we did have a question. Are there any sessions, pre-recorded sessions on how to use Handshake and LinkedIn?
Yes, there are tons of videos. There's a YouTube page, and we have it broken down within Handshake, different parts, right? So some people may feel like, I want to register for these career fairs that Wanda talked about, whether in person or virtual. We also had an amazing marketing communication day. Thank you for running that, Wanda. And then other things that we have as far as employer and residence. So we actually have 15 to 20-minute sessions where you sign up with a particular employer and you chat with them on that particular day. So definitely we have different videos like how you do those different sessions, because we don't want them to be too long. So we'll include those links to the YouTube page. Go for it. Go through all those different things. So
Shelby says, I have contacts at Maryland, South Carolina, Alabama, NEA, DC Public Schools, Department of Justice. All right, Shelby is the person. Anyone need those connections? See, that's how networking works. All right, Shelby. Anybody on the call needed a connection in any one of those places? Shelby is offering. So you might want to remember that name. Okay, we got something in Q&A.
Yeah, from Melissa.
Okay. Okay, thank you for being helpful. Okay, DC has a bad rap for being overly transactional. How do we navigate the fine line between genuinely keeping up with contacts and shameless self-promotion? I know I've been guilty of rolling my eyes in the past. I received email blasts from people overly plugging their recent comments when we haven't spoken in years. Okay, good question, Melissa. So let me see. I would say, oh, you're going to answer the question, Felicia?
No, I was just clicking so we knew it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Wanda. I didn't mean to mess up with the technology.
So I would say, when we talk about keeping up with contacts, I think it's very important early on to see if there's that connection or something that a way you all could be a resource for each other. It is very possible, like there's some people I met 3 years ago at a particular conference. I really don't have anything to keep in touch with them about right now, but if I'm connected with them on LinkedIn, as Felicia mentioned, I may comment on their posts, so it's not like I'm shamelessly self-promoting myself. I'm also telling them, I see you, I know what you're doing. So there's several ways to keep in contact with the professional contact. It doesn't always have to be a direct email. It could be a message on LinkedIn. Maybe they added something new. Maybe they commented on a discussion, because I'll do that. I'm like, okay, that's a good point. Felicia, that's a good point. I see you, something like that. So I hope that answers your question. I forgot who that was. Melissa, does it? I hope. We got several things in the chat. Oh, you put that, okay. Shelby needs a contact at Deloitte.
And you may be able to find some of these contacts, by the way, within Handshake. So because we have that employer link where you can go in and see the events and things, you also can click on employers, and you may actually have quite a few people that are in this tool. So I'll switch as, and then if I can find it while I'm thinking of you all have a question, I'm going to find it for you so it can show you real quick on the screen. I'm looking at my second monitor, by the way, and I'm turning my head. I'm not trying to escape.
Anybody else have any questions? I don't have anything else. Feel free. We have time. Did we cover everything for you all? You can raise your hand. Yes, no, maybe.
So I'm going to share my screen while you all have
Okay, go
questions.
ahead.
And this isn't within Handshake. I mentioned before how you can find students. You can also follow employers. So I put in Deloitte in the search. We came up with a lot of different links here. You can follow this company. So whenever they have an event or they have a job posting, you'll find them. When I click Deloitte, there's a lot of different Deloittes. That's one of the places I used to work. So they have Deloitte, consulting, Deloitte is an organization, Deloitte's all around the world. So another thing that's really helpful for you all, you can see how people have reviewed the company, what they've said in interview settings, like how long it took them from the time they applied to the time they have a response, and some of those questions, what the jobs are. And then as you get a little further down, you will see some of the contacts. And so hopefully you find this very helpful to you, that this is a public list of people you can reach out to. So whether you're in the audit or you're in IT, whatever the case is, you can see what they've done and how you can connect with them. In addition, you can see the students. So hopefully that works for you all.
I don't see any other question. Oh, wait a minute, here we go. Thank you. I was just wondering how to properly network when you have minimal work experience and little knowledge of your future career. Okay, so remember, if I could answer this or make a suggestion. Again, I can't stress enough, recruiters or employer representatives are human beings. They want to connect with you on a personal level. So I just believe in being, pretty transparent. Find out what they like about their company. Make the conversation about them. And I think in asking those questions, they may give you a tidbit or two that you can say, oh, that's good to hear. What would you recommend? What do you like about this particular, career path or whatever you're trying to find out? But don't minimize what you've done in the past. I know a lot of people have, minimal work experience, but you've learned a great deal about yourself and your skills through group projects, through student organizations. So don't discount those areas as well. I don't know if you want to add to that, Felicia.
That's funny. It's exactly what I was typing.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like adding to Wanda's great comments. Remember that as a student, you have tons of experience because you all involved in student organizations on campus. You volunteer. One of the groups I remember they had at AU quite some time ago, I don't know if they have it anymore, they used to have a dance-a-thon. They were contributing money to different organizations, whether it was for sickle cell or cancer. If you dance for 22 hours, there's a lot for you to talk about. You raise $1,000 when people don't want to trust you with a dollar. And then of course, with your course projects, a lot of times you're working directly with the client or you're competing against each other, like COGOT has their case competition, or you have some other events. So you have the knowledge. You just got to kind of dig deep and go, how do I connect with this person based on my course projects? Or I used to volunteer at the hospital and, I was a candy striper, so there's some experience there. So you may not have work experience in that field, you're looking to gain it and they won't judge you because of that.
Right. And you may run across a recruiter like me who used to only want to talk to students that were engaged on campus. And I love it when someone did volunteer work because I like to volunteer. So you just never know how you could connect with a recruiter. So don't minimize anything that you've done. Okay, it all matters.
All great points.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions? I don't see any.
Today's session, by the way, was also recorded. And so we will kind of edit it down a little bit so it won't be as long. And we'll add it to the YouTube page as well. So if you want to go back and look at these things, you can do that. If somehow we miss you when we send the email out for the handouts and attachments, please do not hesitate and just send a quick email. Wanda, I didn't know if you had a general one. I can share what ours is. So
Wanda L at American University.
Okay.
American.edu. That works.
Yeah. Wanda, I'm sorry.
L. Yeah.
Okay.
At American.edu. That works. Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't want it to get lost. Yeah.
So either emails, you can shoot us an email and say, hey, I didn't get that, those handouts or those links, and I would love to get those. And also, I can't find that YouTube link because we have a lot out there. So don't be surprised. We try to add a graphic in the beginning part, so it might look a little different than when you logged on today. But both of us, thank you so much for being not only engaging throughout this conversation, but even just logging on. We know that you have a lot to try to balance throughout the day. You have courses, of course, you have to have time for social, to get a chance to take a nap sometimes. So we really appreciate it. We don't take it lightly. And I also let Wanda say thank you as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your engagement and even showing up today. That means a lot. Showing up, got to show up. So thank you and good luck.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.